Today's beverage, a dirty matcha. Hi guys, it's Dustin. So if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know I talk a lot about friendships. The past few weeks, I have been meeting a lot of new people. An overwhelmingly large amount of new people. I've been getting introduced to a lot of new people through my friends, and I just find myself in random situations where I'm meeting new people. It's just been a lot of like, nice to meet you. I'm Dustin. Nice to meet you. How are you? A lot of that. It's been weird. It's kind of exhausting. It's all very brief, a lot of small talk. I haven't really made any friendships out of them. I just feel like I've been surrounded by such a new group of people lately. How do I say this kindly? They don't feel like real human beings. You know, we all have different stories. We all have different backgrounds, and I feel like everyone I've been meeting has just been not very grounded. And somehow I just find myself in these scenarios where I'm surrounded by these people and I start to lose myself a bit. I actually had to like take a week where I just didn't hang out with anybody, stayed at home and focused on myself. I feel like the conversations I was having made me feel like everything was fake. Anyways, this video popped up on my YouTube recommendation page called The Friendship Recession by Richard Reeves. I'll leave a link to it in the description. It was a very interesting video and it sparked the topic today. I think it's just a very prevalent topic in my life, especially right now, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. So what is the friendship recession? I did a quick Google and it says more and more adults are devoid of close friends, thereby having fewer people to rely on during crises, and increasing loneliness. So basically, people these days don't got friends, and it's getting harder and harder to make friends. And I know there's statistics about this, but I was too lazy to Google it, but if you ask people how many close friends they have, they probably wouldn't say that many. Now let's get into the reasons why I think there's a friendship recession happening. First of all, I think there's a lot of barriers when it comes to making friends outside of school. I feel like most of us do make our friends in school, people we see every day. I think this is probably more relatable for people who live in the US, but due to poor urban planning, there is not enough walkable communities with good public transportation in cities within the US, which makes it so hard to meet up with people in real life. For example, in LA, it takes at least 30 minutes to meet up with your friends. It's because LA is so overcrowded and there's so many different neighborhoods, it's most likely your friends don't live in the same neighborhood as you. And traffic to add on to that, it's just a trek to get anywhere in LA and meet up with your friends, and it gets super exhausting having to drive for long periods of time on a daily basis. That's why it's so much easier to make friends in school, because you're in a walkable community with people that you see on a routine basis. A brief intermission to talk about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online and remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link below. Clicking the link helps support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. So you can connect to a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is kind of like dating, you have to find one that you feel comfortable around and fits your personal needs. If you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a very common thing in therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist for free without any stress about insurance, who's in your network, anything like that. If you'd like to try BetterHelp, go to betterhelp.com/Dustin. That's betterhelp.com/Dustin and get 10% off your first month. And I've also linked them down below in the description. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video. Another reason is everything costs money. Concerts, cafes. In LA, you have to pay for parking everywhere you go. Obviously, there's things you can do that don't cost money, but I don't know about you guys, a lot of people in my life don't want to just chill. Like, no one wants to chill these days. Why does no one want to chill these days?
Let's dance! Let's dance!
That's probably one of the culture shifts I had to get used to when living in LA, is that nobody just wants to chill and hang out anymore and just like go to a parking lot and talk or go watch a sunset. It always has to be like something that's worth going to. Also, to go anywhere, you have to use gas, which costs money. So either way, you're spending money no matter what you're doing. Where are the down bitches at? I think that's such a good attribute to have, is to not be a party pooper. Just be open and down to hang and do anything. There's also the culture of this generation, and by that I mean like Gen Z and younger people. First of all, people don't text back or call anymore. And I hate the low maintenance friendships that everyone seems to be promoting, because at the end of the day, I think it's just an excuse. You're just lazy. I'm gonna talk more about romantic versus platonic relationships a little later, but you wouldn't say, I want a low maintenance romantic relationship. No one says that. They only say that about friendships. There's a general understanding that romantic relationships won't be low maintenance because it takes a lot of effort. You go through a lot of hardships, and you're supposed to communicate and work together to maintain a healthy romantic relationship. So why shouldn't we view friendships the same way? Why do we view friendships lesser than, and that it has to be low maintenance? I understand that low maintenance friendships are needed sometimes. For example, life gets in the way. Distance, like you might move for a job or something. Even me, I will say, I tend to talk to and hang out more with people who actually live in my vicinity. I talk to people who like live back in my hometown or like elsewhere less, because you're not seeing those people as often on a daily basis. So it's just natural to focus on certain friendships. You should let low maintenance friendships happen naturally. That's usually how a low maintenance friendship becomes a low maintenance friendship, and both parties are aware and understand the dynamics of the friendship, that it's now low maintenance, and it usually happens over time. But I feel like if you expect all your friendships to be low maintenance, it's usually not mutual. All my low maintenance friendships have happened gradually, and there was a mutual understanding of that low maintenance friendship. Does that make sense? I just get so annoyed when I see those videos that are like, oh, people who are mature enough to have low maintenance friendships and not get angry about blah 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 blah. They're so passive. They make it seem like the other person is immature and wrong, when in reality, without effort, you cannot maintain friendships. And I always hear people, oh, why am I not building a close relationship with people? How do you expect to build close relationships with your friends if you're barely talking to them? Making plans, responding to texts in a timely manner, calling every now and then to check in with your friend. I think that's normal and actually the bare minimum of what a friendship is. It shouldn't be looked at negatively to expect your friends to want to hang out with you. Anyways, I'm against this whole low maintenance friendship things. Having this emphasis on having low maintenance friendships can get toxic, and we should value our friendships and put effort in, you know, these people who you choose to have in your life and that you love. I also notice a lot of the times the people who say they want low maintenance friendships are very hypocritical, because then they get sad when their friendships aren't as meaningful as they'd like them to be. And again, they're showing no effort in their friendship, and that causes the friendship to be one-sided. I feel like a lot of people complain about their friendships when they themselves aren't doing anything to put effort into the friendship. A lot of people think they are, in reality they're not. It's like how a lot of people wish they got invited to things. Well, do you invite your friends to things? Also, a thing I've noticed with this generation, I say this generation as if I'm not in this generation, but a lot of friendships are transactional. Now, you could look at this in like the typical way where I feel like, oh, you're using someone for something such as work and business, or you know, they have a boat. I think with social media, this has been happening a lot. A lot of people, I think without even realizing it, make friends to fit their aesthetic based on how they look and how they dress and how well you photograph together. Like, have you ever noticed those pictures of groups of friends on Pinterest? Why are they all hot and kind of have the same vibe? Why do they all kind of dress the same? I think you guys get what I'm saying. There's like a little bit of a blurry line, because obviously with your friends, you want to have things in common with them. So maybe being into fashion, but it's weird because you just know when you see it when friends are friends because of the aesthetic, and they exclude others because they might not be the same vibe as them, even if it's subconscious. There's just something weird about it. I can't pinpoint it, but there is something odd. If I were to like try to join these friend groups, they would not want to be friends with me. It's like kind of pretty privilege. I'm like, wait, do you only be friends with people because they're pretty, or was this a coincidence? I do understand why this happens. It makes sense. It's like when people of the same socioeconomic level end up being friends, because they have more in common. They're usually in the same spaces, around the same type of people, doing similar activities. It's the reality. Rich people are usually friends with a lot of rich people. So I guess this kind of can relate back to pretty well-dressed people are going to be friends with pretty and well-dressed people, but it still feels wrong and very exclusive to exclude the opportunity to become friends with these people over a lot of things they can't control, such as how they look or even being well-dressed. That's a privilege in itself, where you can afford a lot of clothes. You could still have great blossoming friendships with these people even if they don't have those factors. I really hate the fact that we as a society value romantic relationships over platonic relationships. I think a part of this is because friendships aren't as secure and reliable as romantic relationships. I feel like friendships tend to be a little bit more fleeting. There's no like promise that they'll be there forever, I guess. But with romantic relationships, usually like they've seen the real you. They have unconditional love for you. Not all romantic relationships, but I think it's possible to have a platonic relationship that's just as secure and important as your romantic relationship. But the fact that we drop everything for our significant other bothers me so much. For example, that whole trope that, oh, girl gets a boyfriend, girl doesn't talk to her friends for a while until she breaks up with her boyfriend, and then suddenly she comes back to her friends, and then her friends are mad at her for leaving them. It's that whole stereotype. And I'm not gonna lie, that has happened to me where my friends, they get boyfriends and they just don't hang out with me as much anymore. They don't really check in or talk to me as much anymore. And when I call them, they're usually with their significant other, and you kind of just get put in the back burner, even though you may have been such a good friend, so loyal. You know, we're just as reliable as the significant other, but somehow the romantic relationship always beats the friendship, even if you offer the same amount of security and love. Obviously, there's also the intimacy aspect. I honestly feel like the lack of that physical intimacy shows how pure a friendship is and how we should value it so much, because you're not there spending time with someone and choosing to have this person in your life because of somebody's body. You are there because you actually love them and their mind and their soul. Part of why people love the romantic relationship is that physical intimacy. You hear all the time people get used for their bodies and stuff like that, and it's just, that's a whole nother topic, but just shows like I just love friendship. I love friendship. Have you guys seen that article about those old ladies who bought a house together? How pure is that? The fact that they have each other and that's all they need, and it's like, all you need are your girls or your boys or your people. That's it. Personally for me, maybe I'm like biased or something because I've never been in a relationship, but I think I would value my platonic relationships with my romantic relationships. It should be 50-50, which I think is fair considering your romantic relationship typically is just one person while you have so many friends. So even putting it 50-50, that's still a lot of percent for one person. I also feel like if a lot of us had friendships that truly fulfilled us, we wouldn't need a romantic relationship as much. If I had a group of friends that I loved so much and truly fulfilled me and were always there for me, I feel like I wouldn't have this desire to be in a romantic relationship. Right now I do, because I guess I just don't have that strong group of friends, because I feel like a friendship can offer everything a romantic relationship can, other than the intimacy part. Or maybe the intimacy part too. I don't know, y'all. I don't know what y'all do. My last point I wrote down, with social media, the art of talking and conversation is gone. People do not like talking to people anymore. People no longer just talk to each other on the street or in the grocery store. People just don't initiate conversation anymore. And I think it's because we have this reliance on social media and texting and being able to contact anybody at any time, anywhere. Back in the day, they had to talk to people. That was the only way they were ever gonna meet new people. Also, they were probably bored as hell because they didn't have phones to rot their brains, but now we have this safety net of being able to find and talk to people online. For example, if you were to see someone cute in person, back in the day, it was now or never. They had to go talk to them. But now we could find out their name and then just search them up and text them, hey, instead of saying hi to them right then and there. We no longer have that like push and that like now or never, I'm not gonna have the chance again. Personally, I hate texting. I hate the fact that the conversation takes so long to progress. Like you have to wait for them to respond. You can't read into their emotions and how they're saying something. I'm much more of a call and FaceTime person. Everyone expects everyone else to initiate conversation, and it's unfair. If everyone just made an effort and everyone initiated conversation and there's a balance, there'd be like so many more friendships flourishing. I wanted to end this video on tips and advice on how to make friends. It's important to understand that there are different types of friendships for the different aspects of your life. There's your work friends, there's your acquaintances that you run into here and there, there's your fun friends that you know you'll always have a good time with, but you might not be super close and have like deep conversations with, or there's your super close friends that you can share anything with. Like there's so many different categories of friendships. So it's okay to not have all your friends be your super close friends. My first tip is learn how to be a conversationalist and talk to everyone. If you talk to everybody, there's a higher chance of you meeting new people and developing friendships. Even just making eye contact with someone and smiling at them. I'm personally working on this with my body language. I've been told physically I'm a bit standoffish and and unapproachable. But once people start talking to me, I'm like an open book. So that's something I'm working on, to be less intimidating to approach, be very open instead of like closed off, not being afraid to make eye contact with people, like smile at them. Next tip is to join clubs or be a regular at a place. Show up somewhere consistently where you can see the same people on a routine basis. This could be a dance class, a knitting club, a book club, a gym, because eventually after seeing someone for so long, you're gonna talk to them and have conversation. And it also helps that you're doing something that you have interest in, because that's common ground. Next tip, which seems super obvious, but genuinely ask people to hang out. I've had so many interactions where people are like, we should hang out, but they don't ever actually hang out with me. So if you find someone that you want to hang out with, genuinely ask them to hang out, pick a day, pick a time, make a plan and set it. Living in LA, that is such a norm, and it's so annoying, especially when someone asks me to hang out and then I try to set a time and day and then they just don't respond. They ghost me. And I'm like, you're the one that asked me to hang out in the first place. I do have a rule with myself called the 3-try rule, where if I want to try to become someone's friend and hang out with someone, I will try 3 times to make plans with them. If after 3 times they had to cancel, they failed to reschedule, for whatever other reason, I will stop even attempting trying to hang out with them until they ask me to hang out. Because I think after 3 tries, like, you gotta take the hint. Lastly, it's good to remember friendships come in seasons, and that's okay. I've had my fair share of dating friendships and friendship breakups. I think it's a natural part of life. I mean, you break up with a lot of romantic relationships. It's normal to break up with normal friendships. You can try saving it, but I think at some point you just have to let it go. Just enjoy the last moments you have in the friendship and just appreciate the time you did have with them and the lessons you learned and the memories you made. I think that's super important. Another tip on how to make friends I forgot to mention, have your friends introduce you to their friends. If you already have one friend and you already like them as a person, you'll probably end up liking their friends as well. People's friends are a reflection on who they are. Also, while doing some reading about the friendship recession, I found out about this thing called the 11-3-6 rule. Apparently, it takes about 11 different encounters that are each 3 hours long over a period of 6 months to turn an acquaintance into a real friend. So maybe take that into consideration. I've never heard of it before, but it sounds really interesting. Anyways, that is all my thoughts on the friendship recession. Let me know any of your takes and experiences in the comments below. Also, I designed a tote bag. I drew this myself. It's a little character I call Roger, and they're available on my website in the link below. I put it in this muted green and red color palette. It matches with all outfits, and it's a farmer's market style bag. So the strap is longer, so you can wear it like this, across body. You can tie it if you want to shorten the length and make it like a typical tote bag. And it's super spacious. It even has this large pocket compartment, so you can like organize. I take it to cafes to work all the time. It fits everything, my laptop, notebooks, headphones, chargers, everything. Anyways, that was my self-promo. Okay, I have to go now because I have to go practice for my singing lesson. That's in an hour because I started singing lessons last week. Bye, guys. Are we singing the outro song right now? Yeah? Okay. Was it something I said? Oh, fuck.